Hello and welcome back to what can probably be described as the first FIFA 22 video on this channel. Today we're going to be looking at 5 of the teams that are either not in FIFA 21 at the moment and are likely to be next season, and in one case a team that is but isn't in a playable league. So we're going to be beginning with the Spanish leagues and FC Andorra. You might have heard of Andorra either as the minnow of national football that regularly gets beaten by bigger teams, or maybe you've heard that Gerard Piqué, Lionel Messi and Cesc Fabregas own a 3rd division Spanish football team based in Andorra. Well, that's who we're looking at today, FC Andorra. You might be wondering why these 3 massive football players have decided to buy a 3rd division football team. Well, they were actually in the 5th division when Piqué started to invest. He sees Andorra as a way to pave the way for Catalonia to leave Spain. You might be wondering why. Well, it's because if there's a precedent of a non-Spanish team playing in the Spanish professional leagues, which are the 2nd and 1st divisions, then it would mean Barcelona could join if they ever do get independence. So in terms of actually owning the football team, it's a bit of an unusual investment, especially as recently as 2011, Andorra were in the 7th tier of Spanish football. An equivalence, if you're not familiar with Spanish football, would be someone buying, for example, the Guernsey or Jersey teams that are currently in the 9th division of English football and getting them promoted 6 or 7 times into League One, and then using that as a justification for another foreign team, for example Celtic or Rangers, to join the league because technically they're not from that country. The last few years have been a bit of a whirlwind for FC Andorra. As I mentioned previously, only 10 years ago they were in the 7th division, and now they're about to get promoted to the 2nd. In 2018 they got promoted from the 5th to the 4th division, and then a year later bought Royce's place in the 3rd division when they had financial problems. I can see Andorra being a very popular choice if they do manage to get onto FIFA, and especially if Spain let them play in the 2nd division, which isn't fully confirmed yet. It would be even better if EA decides to add Andorra as a scoutable nation and maybe adds it into the game. Of course, there are some bigger ones that are missing, like Croatia, that they should add as well, but adding Andorra would be a pretty fun challenge to do a club and country with a really tiny nation. It's like if San Marino made it into Serie B when they were still on the game. That would have been another fun challenge, but in this case, you're in an even harder league than the Italian Serie A. So the second team we're going to have a quick look at is AC Monza. They find themselves 2nd in Serie B at the moment, and they have Balotelli, Kevin Prince Boateng, Gabriel Paletta, and are owned by Silvio and Paolo Berlusconi. The amount Monza are spending at that level is absolutely insane. Their season's budget was around 30 million euros, and they spent most of this on experienced players that wanted to be part of the project, or players from Serie A who needed game time. Last season, the boys, as they're nicknamed, won Serie C, so if they do manage to get back-to-back promotions, they'll be in Serie A for the first time in Monza's history. While the stadium isn't great, so they would be losing out money there, the revenue from being in the top flight, combined with Berlusconi's already quite immense riches, would mean Monza could compete at the top half of the league. The level of investment that's already been put into the club is insane for the Serie C, where they even spent 4.5 million euros on Dany Mota while still in the 3rd tier. This is like someone like Sunderland signing a player from Manchester United for £5 million. You just can't imagine it happening, but this has been happening in Monza. Before they got taken over by the Berlusconis, they were most famous for winning the Anglo-Italian Cup. They beat Wickham in the 1975 final, and that cup obviously doesn't exist anymore and was exactly what it sounded like, a small cup competition between lower league Italian and English football teams. I think this would be a very popular save if Serie B was already on the game, but with them getting back to Serie A, I think it will also be very popular. It's a bit easier than Andorra. Of course, you'll have a lot more money and you'll already have some big names that you can sort of bring on your small road to glory, like Balotelli, who's always going to be loved by FIFA players. Heading to Northern Europe and back to England, we have Sutton United from near London. They're top of the conference by several points at this point, and you might remember them from 2016 to 17, where they managed to get to the 5th round of the FA Cup. They beat Cheltenham, Wimbledon, Leeds United before losing 2-0 at home to Arsenal. This is the game where Wayne Shaw ate a pie, if that rings a bell. A fun fact about Sutton United is they have a team in Gambia that they are linked to that's also called Sutton United. They used to be called Sanchaba United, but it was renamed because Sutton donated kits to the country. You know, this could be another FIFA link if FIFA 22 does add teams like Gambia into the youth scouting. Maybe you can bring some of the Gambian Sutton United players over to the London Sutton United. Unlike Andorra and Monza, Sutton United aren't relying on rich people to get them up the league. While they do have a big budget for the level, this is all money they saved up from getting this far into the FA Cup. They earned so much money from playing against Arsenal, they had one-off shirt sponsors for the game, and of course a lot of media attention, and they invested most of this into their youth academy, installing 3G pitch on their home ground, which unfortunately will now have to be torn up because of league rules, and investing in players and staff. I think this is the right way to play football, and Sutton United are a classic English football team, and that's exactly what you want to see in the game. So moving on from the poorest team in this list, we've now got the richest. Charlotte United are getting added to the MLS next season. If you're a fan of American football, you might have heard of the Carolina Panthers, and they share the same state as Charlotte United. They share the same owners, and they share the same club colours too. Because of this, they will likely have their stadium on FIFA 22, as it's already in Madden. This is the same thing that happens with Seattle, where they share their stadium with an NFL team. The owner David Tepper is actually the richest owner in the NFL, and this is also the case in the MLS. So some big names could be heading to Charlotte, and you can imagine they'll have a huge transfer budget. The squad currently only has 3 players: Jan Sobinski from Lodz, Riley McGee from Birmingham, and Sergio Ruiz from Las Palmas. These players are pretty poor, with Jan being only a 62 overall, Riley being 70 overall, and Sergio being a 68. But all 3 have really good potential, so this could be something that Charlotte are planning to focus on in the future of their franchise. Of course, before they get added to FIFA, they'll have a full roster drafted, and hopefully this will be incorporated on FIFA next season. Of course, with them being a brand new team that hasn't really even played a game yet, except friendlies, they'll have a full cabinet to fill with trophies, which could be a good challenge if you want to make the newest MLS team also the most successful. For the final team on this list, we're heading back to the French island of Corsica. Of course, the island has a rich heritage of conquering France, with it being the birthplace of Napoleon Bonaparte, but SC Bastia have had more of a downfall than Napoleon did. They were in Ligue 1 as recently as 2017, but relegations followed by a demotion to the 5th division after serious financial issues has seen them go right down to the bottom of the professional leagues. At a time, they were the only professional team at their tier, and they've got back-to-back promotions since 2017 and find themselves top of the 3rd division. Bastia aren't the only team from Corsica, with their rivals AC Ajaccio also being in Ligue 2, the 2nd division of French football. However, Bastia have produced some amazing players over the seasons, with Roger Miller, Michael Essien, Alex Song, Sebastian Schilacci and Florian Thauvin all being players that have come from the Corsican island. Bastia also have the best history out of any team on this list, with them being UEFA Cup runners-up in 1977 and eventually becoming Intertoto Cup champions in 1997. With a decent size history, a rival, hopefully in the same league as you, and a return to glory possible for Bastia, the time could be right for Corsica to dominate France once again. So I hope you liked the video. These are some of the better choices that I found that could be coming to FIFA 22 next season. Of course, the season's still got a few games to go, so 1 or 2 of these might not make it onto the list. The only ones that I'd say are almost guaranteed are Sutton and Charlotte. Hopefully Andorra get on there, because it's definitely a challenge that I want to face. Although Monza and Sutton and Bastia, I mean all the ones on the team, I'd be happy to play a season with any of them really. They all have different challenges, depending if you want rich team getting to the top flight, rich team in the MLS, historic team in the 2nd division, an interesting road to glory team in Sutton United that I think is more interesting than teams like Harrogate, or if you want someone like Andorra where you've got big money backing, trying to get into the top flight to prove that Andorra is just as strong as Spain on a national level. If you do have any suggestions, for example, I didn't mention any of the German league teams here, or Polish league teams, or Portuguese league teams, so if you know anything about any of these teams that could be coming to FIFA 22 and why they're interesting, I would love to hear about it on my Discord or in the comments below. Of course, if you did like the video, then feel free to like it, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, subscribe, and if you know a fan of any of these teams that you think could grace us with some more information on why their team's so interesting, feel free to share it with them and get them to drop us a comment below, because I'm sure everyone who watched this would like to learn more about these teams. Anyway, I hope FIFA 22 is as good as we all do, and hopefully they actually pay attention to career mode this time, but I will see you in the next video, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.